Hello everyone, welcome to the Ozark Outpost. This is Global War 85, Operation Escobar, U.S. Global Command 11.4. All right, here we are. Tech. AMD, still on turn 11. The United States has not moved AMD not one time. It's still on stage 2 where they started. Advanced SLBM, SDI, chemical. And they still have not moved AMD. They missed everything. Get over to the dice rolling agency and root those commies out of there. Although the Americans can't really complain. They're kicking everybody's ass on tech. They really are. Okay, no global operations. For Alliance nuclear release, since we're doing things by alliance now, NATO did use theater nukes. So that's the prerequisite satisfied. Currently, we've got 8 to 7, so we have a victory point deficit of 1 for NATO alliance. So they're going to have 1 die to roll for strategic release. No, 3 doesn't get the job done. Okay. Military aid. Americans spent a little bit of money on aid this turn. You're going to have to excuse me for the unpainted upside down glue drying on the Magnet B1. When I was getting everything ready for this game, the B1s for NATO is something I overlooked. I only painted 1 because under the previous rules, NATO could never have more than 1. Now they can, so I'm going to have to get some of them painted. But they're spending, what is that, 8 on a B1 and a frigate to NATO. And then we've got 9 on, refresh my memory, 9 on a next-gen MBT and a fighter, to Saudi Arabia. There's 4 for another attack bomber to UAE. This time they are going to send Iran a light infantry that costs 5. And then they're spending 4 battle stars on a major port construction for Oman. Okay, that is it for military aid. Now we go over here to regular purchase. The Americans are spending 2 battle stars on a minor port construction, 5 on a minor army base construction, 6 on a Top Gun ASF, 4 on an air cav, 6 on another B1, 7 on an advanced ASF. What do we got there? 8 on an ASF and a frigate, and then 7 on an SSN and a diesel boat. And they're building what they have been for a while now, 5 cruise missiles, 3 anti-ship missiles. Okay. Combat movement. There's some stuff going on this turn. Okay, so let's start here in South Asia. All right. 3 airborne, only 2 of which will be an airborne assault, because that's the limit of that minor base with advanced airborne doctrine. So 2 airborne in airborne assault into New Delhi. The other airborne and the 2 Marines go in as regular infantry. Attack chopper goes in. A fighter from the fleet goes in. And the cruiser and destroyer with the fleet here each fire 1 cruise missile, 1, 2. The B-52 takes off from Diego Garcia, comes out here to I-12, where he shoots 2 more cruise missiles, 1, 2, for a total of 4. So that's the attack on New Delhi. Then the 2 attack bombers from the fleet, escorted by Top Gun ASF, fly 1, 2 to West Bengal, where the attack bombers are going to do a nuclear surgical strike. They will have spy satellite so that the bombers will roll full value. Now it's pretty much do or die time. So yeah, the 2 early gen fighters in West Bengal are going to scramble, but they are going to scramble into New Delhi to try to aid the defense of that zone. Okay, so that's the action there. Then we're going to come over here. We have 2 attack bombers on this fleet in M4. They're going to fly 1, 2, 3 over here and do a nuclear surgical strike in central Turkey. The Soviets don't have anybody that can scramble in there. Neither does Warsaw Pact. They don't have spy satellites, so they will be at half value on their rolls. Okay, then we shift over just a little bit more. The B-1 bomber here in Lazio is going to fly 1, 2, 3. Right, he will do an ECM roll to get past, try to get past this SAM in Greece. 4, another ECM roll to try to get past the SAM in Bulgaria. 5, into Romania for a surgical strike on the Warsaw Pact theater missiles there. Okay, then this one I thought was rather inspired. Can I get it all here? Yes. Okay. One of these amphibs, we'll just pick this one. He's going to pick up the 2 Marines from East Libya. He's also taking a fighter from the fleet. And they are going to move with port movement bonus 1, 2, 3, 4 over here to A44, where the 2 Marines are going to do an amphibious assault into Guinea, supported by the fighter. So if the Americans can take out this paramilitary, that's worth a wartime bonus IPP to them. Then here, from northern Algeria, the airborne attacks into central Algeria unopposed. So that is an American capture. It doesn't get, Western Algeria doesn't get an inherent paramilitary because there were forces in northern Algeria. So the faction was not undefended on the board. Okay, so that's that. Then we're going to come over here. And we're going to do something that's a little risky, but we're going to do it anyway. Okay, so the B-52, there's a B-52 and a B-1 in southern England. The B-52 is going to take off, and he's going to fly 1, 2, 3, 4 to Akershus, where he is going to do a facility strike on this major port. Since it's a facility strike, the major port has its 2 inherent SAMs that will get to take a shot at him, but this SAM does not. And then the B1 from Southern England is going to fly 1, 2, 3, 4, where he is going to do a nuclear facility strike on this major port in Gotaland. It's going to try. I'm going to try and bottle these Soviet forces up in Scandinavia and make the Soviets pay off damage to try to get them out of there. All right, and I believe that's it for combat. Let me check the notes and be sure, but I think that's it. Okay, what do we got here? Western Algeria, Guinea, New Delhi, West Bengal, Akershus, Gotaland. Oh, wait, nope, we're not done. I forgot two more theater strikes. The joint base in southern England is going to shoot a theater nuclear cruise missile, 1, 2, 3, 4, into East Germany and target the major army base there. From the joint base in Rhineland, they're going to shoot another theater nuclear cruise missile, 1, 2, into West Czechoslovakia, targeting the major army base there. Now that's it for combat movement. So let's do our north stuff here. So we're going to start with the 2 missile attacks. We'll do West Czechoslovakia first. So here's the 2 inherent SAMs. They both miss. So that is 1d6. 3 damage on that one. 3. I'll go around and get the damage markers at the same time. Okay, now in East Germany, the major army base. That also misses. There's 4 damage there, so I need a 3 and a 4. And that's going to be 4 damage here in East Germany and 3 damage here in West Czechoslovakia. Okay, there we are. All right, now we're going to do the B-52 facility strike in Akershus. Inherent SAMs. Miss. That is 1d6 for that strike. Okay, that's 4 damage. And now the B1 in Gotaland. We have another 2 inherent SAMs. They miss. So he also rolls 1d6 in his nuclear facility strike. He gets the full 6. Okay. 6 and a 4. Hey, you know what? Those are both destroyed. Because max damage for a major port is 2. So that's actually 2 mushroom clouds. Those facilities cannot be used, cannot be repaired. They could be replaced. So we put a mushroom cloud on that major port and one on that major port. All right. Now here's something to wonder. The new Battlestar rules say, or no, the new Fallout rules say, one Fallout added for a facility destroyed by a theater nuke attack. Since this is only possible at theater release level, I am going to count that port there in Godaland as a theater nuke attack, so that's going to take the Fallout up to 10. All right, now we're done up north. Let's do the Battle of Guinea here. So we're going to have 2 Marines and a fighter. 2 Marines and a fighter against a paramilitary. No terrain. Well, both of the Marines hit. Hooray, hooray, hooray. Pluck that guy out of there. Place an American roundel. The United States is on the march in West Africa because they also have potential targets to do the same thing, pick up a wartime bonus in Mali, Ghana, Benin, where the hell's Congo? No, I know it says Congo on there, but that may be. Yeah, it says Congo. I think that's a misprint, though. Oh, wait, no. There's Congo right there. So, depending on how long the game goes, the Americans may have an opportunity for some fun in West Africa. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is the B1 surgical strike for Romania. So first we have to have an ECM roll for Greece. ECM roll for Greece. 3 gets the job done. Now we need an ECM roll for Bulgaria. 12 does not. The B1 has to return to base. So he lands back in Lazio, and that's the end of his thing. Okay, now we're going to have nuclear surgical strike in central Turkey. Nobody's in a position to intercept. There's no air defense. So 6 dice at 4. Well, there's 3 hits. That's actually not too bad. And one of them is a reactive armor target select. So, get one of those guys out of there. And then the Soviets choose the self-propelled and a mech. So that's going to be 2 air battle stars for the Americans. They also get a land battle star for Guinea. Don't want to forget that. Okay, that's that one. So next we're going to do the Battle of New Delhi. I'll go ahead and put that on the board. Okay, it's all set up here. Got the 4 cruise missiles in first strike, no missile defense. The 2 airborne and airborne assault have close air support, so they're at 4. There's no terrain in this battle. So we start off with 4 cruise missiles. There's 2 hits. They can only be applied to land units, so that takes out 2 MBTs in first strike. The Soviets now have 1 MBT and 2 early gen fighters defending. Okay, so fighter on air superiority. That's a 9 misses. We got 2 Marines and an airborne at 2. Yep, there's 1 hit. It's more than we expected. Now there's 2 airborne at 4. They miss. And an attack chopper. He misses. Yeah, that actually wasn't very good. So now there's two early gen fighters on air superiority and an MBT. Okay, there's 1 air hit, everybody else missed. So the Americans have to take the air hit on the fighter because helicopters have to be taken last. Nobody was expecting that. And then the defender has to take 1 general hit, which he'll take on an EGF. So we go around 2, he comes over here. That's done, take it off. Hopefully I didn't just break the fins off of that. Okay, so now we're gonna have 3 at 2. Well, there's another hit by the little guys. 2 at 4. And the attack chopper. There's a 4. Okay, 2 hits is what was needed to finish him off. So the Soviets are wiped out. Now we've got the EGF is yellow, the MBT is green. Yep, they got 2 hits in return. Those guys. But they are no more. Okay, so for the 2 hits in return, the Americans are going to take the 2 Marines. No, they're not. Change that. They're going to take 1 Marine and 1 airborne because the Marine defends better if that becomes necessary. Okay, there's a land battle star for the Americans. And let me put this stuff back. Okay. Let's see. I gave the Americans their land battle star, yes. Okay, now we're going to have the nuclear surgical strike on West Bengal with spy satellite support and nobody to intercept. Here we go. There's 4 hits. We only needed 2 because that's all the ground units there is there. But it's mission accomplished. Because right now, as you can see, the only thing the Soviets have to counterattack with in India is this one mech up here in Kashmir. That was what they wanted to accomplish, was to eliminate their capacity for counterattack. Okay, so the Americans are going to go up for New Delhi, and the Soviets will go down 2. So the Americans are up to 64. Soviets are back down to 42. Fallout is going up 2 to 12. And I think, let's have a look here real quick. You stare at the wall while I do a little bit of reading here. New Delhi is worth 2 victory points for the Americans. So they go from 6 up to 8. And that now makes it 9 to 8 in favor of NATO alliance. Since we are now tracking this in real time, because it has an effect on nuclear release dice. Okay, that is it for combat. So non-combat, we've got a slew of that to get through. So to make sure I don't mess up, we're going to do this. Oh, wait a minute. There's one more I forgot to mention. Celestial Eagle again. Because we still have our ASF over there at Great Lakes at an air base. So he's going to do another Celestial Eagle. 2 gets the job done. Turn that Soviet spy satellite over. Now we're doing non-combat. And I'm gonna follow my list. So I make sure I get everything I'm missing. Okay, we're gonna start over here in A40. Everybody here except this SSN is going to go 1, 2 over here to M4 to join up with the main fleet. So I can actually get this guy over here on the card. This guy can get over here on the card now. So get all these ships on the card. Okay, there we go. That SSN is remaining in place to deny Warsaw Pact the bonus IPP for having Canary Islands with no enemy subs in A40. That's taken away. That's the same reason we parked that SSN up there in A26. All right, now let's bring the attack bombers back from central Turkey. So 1, 2, 3. They come back and land on, we'll just put them on the super carrier. Okay, our next sea move is the SSN here in I-1. He's going to move 1, 2, 3, 4 with his port movement bonus up to M8. Take these off. No, actually, I still need that. Never mind. Okay, our next one is everybody from all the ships from I-12 are shifting back over to I-6. That includes the amphib. So let's get him on the card down there. And then I will go ahead and land the air back on the supercarrier. And the B-52 back at Diego Garcia. Alright, next, that's it for sea movement. Now we're going to air movement. We have an airborne. We have an airborne here in South Africa that's going to use his airborne movement to go one. That won't work. No, we'll just have to do it like this. He's going to use his airborne movement to go 1, 2. Oh, yeah, it will. No, it won't. 1, 2, 3 into Somali Republic. That's where he's going to land. And then we're going to have an air movement. The two fighters here in South Africa will fly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to land in Hyderabad. Although I don't think they're really needed there at this point. They could be, you never know. The Soviets don't have anything left. So we can take these off here. So I don't think that I missed something. All right. Next air movement. There are two fighters here in Portugal that are flying 1, 2, 3 over here to the fleet in M4. And they are going to come out here and land on the conventional carrier. So that fills up both of its flight ops slots. All right, now we have air redeployment. Over here in Northeast US, we have a pair of A-10s. They're both going to take off from that major air base and come along with me over here. One of them lands in Macau and the other lands in eastern Saudi. And then our third air redeployment is this fighter sitting here on Puerto Rico. He flies over here and lands at Somali Republic. Okay, that's it for air redeployment. Now we have two airlifts. The light infantry from South Africa airlifts into Hyderabad. We've got a paramilitary here in Colombia. We're going to airlift him into West Bengal to garrison that just because we feel like having him do it. Now we got two heavy airlifts. One coming from Northeast US. Stand up there. Oh, come on, give me a break. And the other is a self-propelled artillery from Nicaragua. The self-propelled is going to heavy airlift into Eastern Saudi, and the attack chopper goes into Macaw. Okay, that's it for that. Now we've got some sea lifts, and then non-combat will be done. So, from Nicaragua, we have a mech and a SAM that are going to sea lift 1, 2, 3 over here to A35. There we go, reminder that they're sea lifting. Then this thing back out of the way. We got 2 MBTs here in southern United States that will go 1, 2, 3 into A26. And then 2 more MBTs from northeast United States, 1, 2, 3 into A26. And they're just out here sea lifting, hanging out. So that's our 6 sea lift embarkations. Now we're going to do our land movement. I lied when I said we just had some sea lifts and we would be done. I also have air to land up north here. Let's do that while we're up here on the corner. These guys are both flying back to southern England after wreaking havoc. Okay, the paramilitary in Patagonia moves 1 space up there to Buenos Aires. Let's see, we are done with this. We have 4 next-gen MBTs and 3 MBTs in Angola. They're going to move 1, 2 over here to South Africa. There's that. And I think that's it. I don't think I'm lying anymore. I think that's it this time. Yep. That's non-combat movement finished up. All right, now we place units. Okay. The Americans are building a minor army base here at Hyderabad. They may or may not need it, you never know. Then they're building a Top Gun ASF on the supercarrier here in I-6. So they have 2 Top Guns on that supercarrier again. They're building an air cav on the amphib in I-6. So I put that stuff back here on the card. Okay, now we're building a B-1 and an advanced ASF Northeast United States. There's those guys. Now we've got an ASF built on the super carrier here in M4. So that carrier now has its full complement of 4 planes again. And we're building a frigate at the minor shipyard there at West Libya. It joins the fleet. Okay, down here in South Africa, we're building a minor port over here on the I-1 side. Why, maybe you ask? One, it's not very expensive, but now we can embark 6 sea lifts from South Africa, and we happen to have about 8, but that's the most we can do in one turn, so we don't need any more capacity than that. We are building a diesel boat at the minor shipyard here in I-1. And then we are building an SSN with the help of the military advisor at the minor shipyard in M4. That is all units placed. So now we need a recruitment roll for our in. Hey, they got it with a 1. What do you know? So the Iranians think they want 2 paramilitaries here in Shiraz. Alright, now we are delivering aid. So since we're there on Iran, we'll just start there. Yeah, we'll go and do that. The aid comes from the States through the Med, around through Suez up here, and into the minor port here. Eastern Saudi, and he'll join his buddy there. Or Eastern Iran, I mean. He'll join his buddy. Now, we've got a major port. It's going to be built here on the I-4 coast of Oman. Why again, you ask? Well, because we need places to land our sea lift that is going to be coming from South Africa. So now this, between these two, we have a capacity to land up to 6 sea lifts in Oman in one shot. Okay, now UAE gets another attack bomber. They're getting a little collection of them. I think they might be daring the Soviets to align Iraq so that they can join the U.S. Alright, and then Saudi Arabia is getting a next-gen MBT coming through the Med, through Suez, into the minor port here. And then they're getting another fighter that airlifts in. And once again, 3 grays is going to make a green. And then super glue should be dry enough to put him on the stand. The frigate comes through the mid, through the Turkish Strait, and is delivered to the fleet there in M10. So that frigate goes on the card over here. And then this B1 is delivered to, oh no, we can't do that. That's right, I remembered we can't do that. So this B1, we can't deliver it to Marmara because the airbase is damaged. But where we are going to deliver it to is an undamaged joint airbase in Rhineland. So we'll put the unpainted B1 over here on the Rhineland card. That's all aid delivered. Yeah, he had a hard day of training. Okay, the Americans are at 64, and now they're getting 2 bonus, one for one of the Libyas and one for Guinea. So that's going to give the Americans 66. Not Phillips 66 or Route 66, just regular 66. I don't want that. I need one of those. I was trying to cheat them. And there's that. They picked up some more battle stars. And they've got 7 of those in the bank. They had 1 cruise missile left over. So there's the 5 they just built. And 3 more anti-ship missiles. Okay. That's going to do her for turn 11. Let's have a look around. That's what's sitting in Oman, waiting to see what happens farther to the north. There's what's in Israel. Well, the land units, because you got, 3 fighters parked there in Oman. You got a fighter and a SAM over there in Israel. So here's the new situation in India. I would say the Americans are definitely in control. Pakistan remains unaligned, and I seriously don't see any circumstance allowing it to be aligned. Not unless the Soviets, they could, if the Soviets capture eastern Iran, or if the Soviets align Afghanistan. We'll see what they feel like. Here's the rest of the Middle East. Iran still, in turn 11, is holding on to the southern half of the country. That's kind of surprising. You don't see that very often. Iraq still, at turn 11, has not aligned. I think that's also kind of unusual. And this has given the Americans plenty of time to build up in Saudi Arabia and UAE with military aid, as you see, and their own units filtering in. The Americans here, I suspect, maybe preparing for an attack on Ethiopia, maybe. That's a victory point for them. We've already covered what their plan for these guys in South Africa is. Egypt, Again, I seriously doubt Egypt is going to align. Really, the only way it can is if the Soviets capture Israel. So there's the situation in Turkey. What was looking pretty good for the Soviets is now, I think, a toss-up at best. As they're airborne and their Marines, I don't believe are going to be enough to take Marmara on their own. They were depending on overland support, which is evaporating in clouds of nuclear ash. So here is the NATO fleet that is sitting in M10. And to compare, well, right above him, there's the Soviet fleet in M11. What in the world is this guy? Was he trying to defect to the Soviets? Get back down there where you belong. Okay, here's the American fleet in M4. Plenty of air power there. Plenty of missile defense. So we said the Americans are embarking on a wartime bonus strategy in West Africa, and that fighter has to fly back out to the amphib. The Americans are, in all likelihood, going to complete the conquest of Algeria. The whole reason for starting it was this is a victory point for them. South America is just about empty. Everybody has skedaddled for fights in other places, the same way with the Caribbean. You remember the sea lifts we got going on. The Soviets got off to a strong start over here, but in Scandinavia, but they have since bogged down. They haven't conquered anything over here in a few turns. Warsaw Pact, if you recall, has just had the stuffing kicked out of them by nuclear surgical strikes in Bavaria and Benelux. So there's Benelux, there's Bavaria. That's what they have left on their front line. This is East Germany. It got too crowded, and I had to get a card going for there. So they have some backstopping forces in East Germany. They've got a little bit in West Czechoslovakia, and the Soviets are working on building some reinforcements for them as well. We'll see how it goes. As I mentioned earlier, the Soviets have decided to try to pull their mobile nukes back here out of reach. They've also done the same thing with their theater missiles there. These theater missiles are remaining where they are because they have plans for those, and these for the same reason. The Soviet Baltic fleet's here in A12. That's what it consists of. The Soviets haven't put any money into it really because they've had other priorities. All right, so here we go with the tech chart. As I said earlier, the Americans are just dominating tech. It's not if they get any more successes, if they're going to run out of techs for the number of roles that they have. Here's the IPP chart. Let's advance that to turn 12. As we said, Fallout is at 12. 8 victory points for the Americans, 1 for NATO, 4 each for Warsaw Pact and the Soviets. Okay. There we are. That's the end of turn 11. Ozark Outpost. Over and out.